I do want to, looking around, seeing the crowd here and everyone here, we really appreciate your support for Mom and for the family. And it reminds me of when Batson Camel was still alive and we had the boats on where the natural gas could come to Marshfield. And Mom had a birthday at the same time, and Batson came out, of course just walked in whistling, was looking at her birthday cards and said, "My God, Ruth, you got more birthday cards than you get votes against natural gas." So that tells us that we've always had the support of the community with friends, and that's what matters most. And I appreciate everyone being here tonight, and I appreciate your support for Mom and what she's done and what she means to everybody. I guess all I could really add to what's going on is the reason she's so popular with everyone in the community is, yes, it's her support, but she's helped raise a lot of kids. When I was living on Bedford Street, the best place in the world that I've ever lived was on Bedford Street. And she opened our house, Jean Thomas opened her house, and all of us kids just ran back and forth, and we didn't know who was where, but we knew we was going to somebody's house, we were going to be there. And she just opened it up for everybody and was supportive of everyone that came in, whether it was the kids across the street, 2 blocks over, whatever. She always had candy, always had food, was always supportive to be there. And it was extremely patient with me and a lot of the kids. And I was not a very easy child growing up to take care of. Craig Thomas and I were a lot alike. We were little hellions, to be honest about it. When I was 5 years old, my brother was, he'd been 11, so he'd been 16, 17 years old. He was a star quarterback on the football team. He was a stud athlete, and I looked up to him. And I wanted to be so much like him and play football like him. Well, I was 5 years old, and we had the big kids around our class, in our grade, in our neighborhood, and that was Brent Thomas, Chris Oberlander, Mark West was one of the really big kids, and we had Craig Thomas, and we had a lot of all-state potential athletes later on that grew up in our neighborhood. And I was about 5 years old, and I went to the local Otasco store up on off the square, and I'd got the box that had the football kit in it. The helmet, the pads, the pants, the jersey, I looked like the nines, just solid white as this shirt. And I was so excited to play. I could get out and play with the big guys, because they told me if you could get a helmet, Joe, you can play with us. And this is a lot right next to our house that used to be vacant until John Bill built a spec house on it and ruined the play yard. But we're still not holding that grudge against him. So anyway, I finally get out there and I get to play. Now meantime, Mom, she has to help me get dressed, has to help me put everything on, get it just right, because I got to look really good for these kids. Well, the other thing about this is Mom's having her ears pierced at this time by our cousin Steve Brooks. And so she's in the kitchen having her ears pierced, and I guess back then it was a pretty big deal to have it pierced. Monumental then, I guess, I don't know. So I go outside and play. Well, they had just paved, not paved, but tarred Bedford Street. It was a gravel street up until then. So we're talking 66, 67, somewhere in there. So they say, "Joe, you go back there by the ditch, there by the road, and we're going to kick it to you. We'll see if you can catch it." So Chris Oberlander, Craig, one of the kids that could kick really good, kicked it high, and I go back. And here I go, and I fall back just flat in the fresh road tar in my nice new white uniform. So these guys come running up, and of course, instead of encouraging me and helping me get up, Joe, the ball's behind you, get back behind you. So I roll over on my stomach. And I'm trying to crawl in it. So I get up, and I'm just tar all over my new suit. And I am just crushed. And of course, these guys are laughing, and I go crying. I go running inside, and I don't go to the edge of the yard and stop and say, "Mom." I go running into the house with all this tar coming off of it. Mom jumps up. She's got an apron and a needle sticking in her ear, trying to get her ears pierced. But she took time, got me undressed. She immediately put the clothes in a sink with some kerosene or whatever we had around that time to try to help cut the tar so that she could wash it later. And she did all those things to try to help me out on deals like that. And she was extremely patient in those things. And I remember those times. But she would do those for all those kids that would come by. She had chocolate all the time for Alan Thomas. She had other things for Brent or Craig. And it just was an impact in my life. And to this day, that's why they're my best friends. The other time was Mom was playing bridge. And Superman was really big back then in cartoons and on TV, and I'd got a Superman cape. So I was outside playing, and I forget nobody else was around, so I was by myself, and Mother told me to go outside and entertain myself. We didn't have video games back then and not much TV. So I went outside and I found the ladder. So I climbed up on the roof, and I'm going to fly like Superman. Well, fortunately, Mother had heard all this commotion going on out there, and just as I was about to jump off the back porch, she saw me and stopped me. I still think I could have flown. But again, nothing harsh, just a strict tone of don't be up there anymore, and I never tried to do it again. Throughout business, Mother has always been there, been very supportive of me and my brother and all the decisions that we've made, whether they've been right or wrong. When my dad died in 1989, at that time I didn't think we could go on. And we did. We haven't thrived probably as well, but we've went on. And it proves that anybody can be replaced. And I've always said that it was easier at the time, I didn't think that, but easier at the time to replace Dad. I said, I'm glad that nothing happened to Mom, because she would be extremely hard to be replaced. And I still feel that way. And will until she can't make it, and I hope she continues to make it every day. Not only because she's great to work with, because she's my mother, and she's supportive of the family that we have at Brooks Gas, and supportive of my family and my friends. And she's just that way. She's always got patience. She always has time to talk to anybody, wherever they're a happy customer, a complaint, whatever it may be. She always has the time to visit with them and wants to visit with them. And she loves the kids. She really loves the kids, loves the 4th of July. And as you all know, that you've lived around Marshfield, that you know that. And Marshfield has been very, very good to her, and it's been very, very good to us. And there's nowhere in the world that I would want to live or do business in Marshfield. And she enjoys it, and she's a big part of it. And that's really about all I can add, other than just, again, the supportive mother. Even through high school, she drove us around. I remember the golf matches. We didn't have buses back then much for the golf teams. She'd drive us around, took us off work to drive us places, did stuff with FFA. Always had time to do things for me or for us or for the school, whatever it needed to be to help. And I'm very appreciative of that, and I know the community is too. And again, thank you for coming tonight. We really appreciate your support. Thank you.